A wealthy farmer is stunned to find his estranged daughter had $2 million hidden away. Chapter 1. The Mysterious Beginning. From the very first moment, an eerie silence hung over the old farmhouse, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves, stirred by an unseen breeze. Strange shadows flickered across the cracked walls, as if the house itself held secrets desperate to be uncovered. Every creak of the floorboards echoed like a whispered warning, while outside, the distant howl of a lone wolf sent chills down the spine. Something was undeniably wrong, a hidden truth lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to unravel. The air grew thick with anticipation as unexplained lights danced in the darkness, and the townsfolk's hushed rumors spoke of an ancient curse that no one dared to challenge. Each strange occurrence piled upon the last, weaving a tangled web of mystery that pulled deeper into the story, craving to know what sinister forces were at play. Then the letter arrived. It slid through the mail slot like a ghost, aged paper curling at the edges, and bearing a wax seal that felt foreign in Thomas Hargrove's world of spreadsheets and silos. His heart raced. Each heartbeat echoed in the quiet house, alive with memories of laughter and anger. The bold handwriting spelled out a name that twisted the very fabric of his being. Emma, his estranged daughter. She had been gone for so long, a wound never healed. A tumult of guilt and longing crashed over him like a summer storm, leaving him breathless. Just the mention of her name paralyzed him, stirring up the regrets he buried deep, a negligence that split their bond. She was not just a distant thought. She was flesh, blood, and a haunting memory. The letter revealed a shocking truth. Emma had lived in exile, fleeing the suffocating grasp of a controlling family. He could almost hear her laughter tumbling through the fields of wildflowers, now lost somewhere in the echoes of a troubled past. But that wasn't all. Emma had hidden away a staggering $2 million, wealth that danced like gold dust in his dreams, yet felt tainted by the darkness that enveloped her life. But there was danger lurking. A formidable figure from her past, a ghost with a deadly grip, would stop at nothing to reclaim what believed was his. As the gnawing sensation of urgency tightened around Thomas's chest, he stood at a crossroads, pride battling with the desperate need for reconciliation. Could he reach out to her? Did he dare? Memories of their fractured relationship haunted him still, whispering doubts and fears. He embarked on a journey fraught with emotional complexity, each step laden with the weight of past mistakes. As he pieced together Emma's life, he felt the rush of hope mingling with dread. Just when he thought he had uncovered the truth behind her departure, a chilling phone call shattered the fragile air. He froze, a lump forming in his throat, as the voice on the other end spoke of a new, perilous threat looming in the shadows. A warning that sent shockwaves of fear coursing through him. Would he be able to find Emma in time? Would their past pull them apart instead of uniting against a common adversary? As uncertainty settled in, Thomas's heart raced with one burning question. Was this the beginning of redemption or the harbinger of ruin? Thomas held the phone tightly, his knuckles turning white. The voice on the other end was low, filled with a threatening calmness, that sent ice through his veins. "You need to leave now. It's about Emma," it said, urgency lining each word. "He's coming for her. And when he does, he won't stop until he gets what he wants." Fear rushed like icy water through his body. "Who?" he managed to choke out, the lump in his throat growing heavier. "Who's coming?" But there was only silence, the line going dead, leaving him hanging in the clutches of an unimaginable dread. He feared the worst. Memories of the long-lost daughter flashed through his mind, her bright smile, her laughter. The way she had looked at him when he had failed her. He slammed the phone onto the table, the sound shattering the stillness of the old farmhouse. Shadows danced in the corners of his vision, mocking him, whispering of danger. He had to act. Adrenaline surged through him, propelling him toward the door. Just as he stepped out into the crisp night, the world shifted. A sudden rumble rolled through the ground, deep and unsettling. The air seemed to thicken. He paused, staring at the darkness, feeling a strange pull. It wasn't just the fear for Emma. It was a sense that something monumental was unfolding. Then, a blinding light erupted from the woods behind the house. Thomas squinted, shielding his eyes. Was it a car? A fire? Or something far worse? His heart raced as he turned, compelled by an unknowable force, his legs moving before he could think. The trees parted like curtains when he reached the edge of the woods, and what he saw stopped him cold. A group of figures stood together, illuminated in the harsh glow from a van parked crookedly. Hooded and cloaked, their faces hidden in darkness. Fear gripped him. Suddenly, a piercing scream tore through the air, so familiar. "Emma!" Panic washed over him. "Emma!" he shouted, his voice cracking as he sprinted toward the second, each step echoing in the night. The figures turned as he approached, their heads tilting in eerie unison. Then a woman stepped forward, her face shrouded, but her voice, it sent a jolt through him. "Father," she breathed, her tone unearthly calm. "Emma!" He reached out, but she didn't move closer. Instead, her eyes locked onto his, filled with an emotion he couldn't name. Was it fear? Was it pity? Then she lifted a hand and flicked her wrist. A golden glint caught the light, and suddenly another figure emerged from the shadows. A man, tall and foreboding, his presence commanding and terrifying. It was him, the ghost from Emma's past. But the twist came when Emma turned slowly, revealing deep scars across her arms. They twisted like snakes, telling a story of pain and survival. "He's not just here for the money, Father," Emma whispered, her voice breaking. "He wants me for something far worse." Thomas's heart dropped, understanding dawning on him like a bleak morning. All the years of estrangement, the letters, the mysterious wealth. It was a trap. A moment of realization clamped down on him. The truth was darker than he had feared. "Emma, no!" Before he could reach her, a blinding flash erupted, a blast of light and sound that swallowed the dark. He staggered back, disoriented. Silence followed, heavy and choking. His chest tightened. Had he lost her again? As the last echoes faded, he looked around, breathless, desperate. The figures had vanished. The woods stood still and silent, as if mocking him. But a single, flickering object lay on the ground where they had stood. A locket, its chain glistening in the moonlight, slightly ajar. He picked it up, pulse racing, knowing deep down this was the link to everything. But a chilling thought gripped him. What had he truly lost? What had Emma betrayed? He needed answers. But now the stakes were terrifyingly high. Time was running out. The past he thought he understood had just warped into a nightmare, and the question hung in the air like a storm. Who was really in danger? The locket slipped from Thomas's fingers, landing softly on the forest floor. He stared at it, heart racing. What was this token of memory? Was it really Emma's? Everything around him felt suffocating, the air tight like a vice. Sweat trickled down his back. He turned slowly, eyes darting, muscles tense, searching for any sign of the figures that vanished. Where had they gone? The absence was heavier than the noise before. Then he heard it, a rustling in the bushes. He whipped around, just as something burst from the thicket. A figure, cloaked and hooded, lunged at him. Thomas reacted on instinct, stepping back, ready to defend himself. But the shape fell to the ground, revealing a woman panting, eyes wide with terror. "Help, please," she gasped, and he recognized her. It was Clara, one of Emma's closest friends. His heart pounded. "Clara, what happened? Where's Emma?" "They took her." Her voice shook like a fragile leaf in the wind. "They had her, but she ran. I followed them. They knew this was coming." Fear gripped him, squeezing hard. Who took her?" "They want the money, but it's not just that," she spat, her words laced with urgency. "They'll hurt her to get what they want. You need to." A snap interrupted them. Both turned, frozen. A hulking shadow appeared. A man emerging from the trees, face twisted with rage. But it wasn't the man Thomas had feared. It was someone else, someone familiar. A surge of familiarity raced through Thomas's veins, followed by disbelief. "What are you doing here?" he shouted, struggling to comprehend. "Tom," said the intruder, eyes now gleaming in the dim light. It was David, an old friend, long thought lost to time. "I'm here for Emma, and you're too late." The words hung heavy in the air. Thomas's fists clenched, confusion flooding his mind. "What do you mean? You know where she is?" David took a step forward, a smirk creeping across his face. "I know more than you think. Emma, she's not just your daughter anymore. She knows what she's worth, and she's chosen her side." His heart sank, unraveling in a heartbeat. "Chosen her side? What are you talking about?" "Do you really believe she's just hiding? You think this is all about the money? You've underestimated her. She's been training, becoming part of something bigger. She can't go back to you, Thomas. She's too far in." Thomas staggered back, breath catching in his throat. "No, it can't be." "Emma wouldn't." David laughed, a chilling sound that echoed off the trees. "You don't know her at all. The truth is darker than you'd ever imagine. Your daughter isn't the lost soul you've painted her to be. She's a player in a game you don't even know exists." Panic surged, anger mingling with betrayal. It was impossible to fathom. His mind spun. What had he really lost? What were the true stakes? Emma was never just a victim. Before Thomas could respond, a flash illuminated the darkness, a bright burst of light blinding him. He shielded his eyes, heart pounding like a drum. When he looked again, Emma stood there, enveloped in light, fear and determination in equal measure. She took a step forward, chilling the very air around them. "Dad," she said softly, voice steady despite the chaos. "You don't understand. It's time you knew the truth." As she spoke, David stepped back, darkness creeping back into the shadows, leaving just enough space for doubt and fear to seep into Thomas's heart. Bracing himself, Thomas realized that everything he thought he knew was about to unravel. What was Emma's truth? And where did that leave him now? Emma stepped forward into the chaotic half-light, eyes piercing through the shadows. Her presence filled the air with an electricity that sent a thrill of fear down Thomas's spine. "Dad," she began, voice steady, but it trembled slightly, like an arrow on the edge of a bow. "You don't understand. It's time you knew the truth." Before she could continue, a loud crash erupted from the darkness, breaking the night like glass. Thomas turned abruptly, heart racing, as the figures he'd seen before emerged once again. But something about them felt different. Sudden urgency crackled in the air, charging the atmosphere. His breath caught, throat tightening, as the realization punched him. These were not mere shadows anymore. They were here for blood. Emma's eyes widened. "No! You shouldn't have followed me! What is happening?" Thomas stammered, wild confusion spinning in his mind. The hooded figures spread out, circling them, their presence suffocating. One of them stepped forward, lifting the hood, to reveal a familiar face, the last person Thomas ever expected to see. It was Grace, his late wife's sister, thought to have vanished years ago. Yet here she was, a ghost of the past, eyes cold as ice. "Thomas," she said slowly, her voice laced with venom, "you should have stayed out of this. This was never your fight." "Grace?" Thomas gasped, disbelief slicing through his confusion. "You! It can't be! I thought you were lost. You're alive?" "Oh, I've been alive," she replied, a twisted smile creeping across her lips. "But I've been busy, cultivating a legacy. Emma is a part of that legacy now. She has powers you can't even imagine." "What are you talking about?" He felt the ground beneath him shift, emotions crashing together like waves. In a storm. "Powers? What have you done to her?" Emma took a step back, the fear in her eyes coursing through Thomas's veins like ice. "Dad, you don't know what's at stake." "Enough!" Grace shouted, voice echoing like thunder. She chose a side. Your side, your pathetic human side, is weak. You're nothing but a shadow to her light. "No!" Thomas cried out, panic rising. "She's my daughter! We were supposed to reconnect. We were going to heal." "That's not how it works anymore." Grace sneered. "Emma is part of a power far greater than family ties. She can cast reality itself, and she has the chance to lead." "Lead where?" Thomas pressed, breathing hard. Fists clenched. Just then, something flickered in Emma's hand. A small, glowing orb that pulsed with light. It cast eerie shadows on her face, twisting her features into something otherworldly. "I didn't want this for myself," she whispered, a haunting sadness crawling across her face. "But I can't run from it. It's who I am." The air thickened, vibrating with tension, and Thomas's heart thundered in his chest. "No! We can find a way back." A dark laugh rippled through the encircling figures. "There's no going back, Tom," Grace said. "This is a choice Emma has made, and there's no way to turn away from it." Emma! Thomas reached out, longing filling him. But her gaze faltered, shifting away. And then, without warning, the orb in Emma's hand exploded. A blinding flash of light, a shockwave that knocked Thomas off his feet. Shouting erupted from the figures as they stumbled back, and in that dazzling light, time froze. When the chaos settled, a silence enveloped them. Emma stood at the center, transformed. Her silhouette shimmered, energy rolling off her like heat. She looked over her shoulder, a fire igniting in her eyes. And for the first time, a chilling confidence wrapped around her like a shroud. "Dad," she said again, voice entirely different now. "I never wanted to hurt you, but now, this is who I am." His heart sank. What had his daughter become? Was this the truth she had been hiding? And as the last fragments of light faded, Thomas stood still. The earth beneath him felt like a gaping abyss. Who was the real Emma? And was he prepared to face the daughter he thought he knew? Emma stood in the shimmering light, transformed. Yet the weight of uncertainty still hung over them like a thick fog. Her gaze flickered from Thomas to Grace, and in that moment, the air seemed charged with a fragility that could burst at any second. Thomas's heart pounded in his chest, the drumbeat of anxiety reverberating through his entire being. "Emma, please," he urged, desperation leaking into his voice. "We can get through this together." But her expression hardened, something ominous lurking in her eyes. "You don't understand, Dad. This is bigger than us," she whispered. "I can't go back to being the person you want me to be." The truth hung heavily between them, a chasm that threatened to swallow them whole. Suddenly, a scream pierced the night, a raw, heart-wrenching cry that shattered the tense standoff. Everyone froze. Thomas's blood ran cold as he recognized that voice. "Clara!" Panic surged through him. "Clara!" he shouted, fear gripping him. Before anyone could react, another figure staggered into view, bloodied and wild-eyed. It was Clara, her clothes torn, face pale. As death, hands trembling. "They're coming," she gasped, collapsing at Thomas's feet. "They've found us." Panic unleashed a torrent of urgency. The hooded figure stirred, shadows swirling like smoke. "Get her out of here," Thomas demanded, rushing to Clara's side. But before he could reach her, the ground trembled violently underneath them. Trees swayed, and a deafening crack resonated in the air. Then it happened. A fissure opened beneath Emma. Bright light spilling forth, sizzling and blinding. "Emma!" Thomas cried, scared he'd lose her again. Her features twisted in horror as she tried to stand her ground. The fiery energy swirled, pulling her closer. "Stand back!" Grace shouted, face twisted with madness, arms outstretched, trying to harness the chaos. "Let it happen!" "No! You're going to hurt her!" Thomas screamed, instinctively moving to protect Emma. But in that moment, something inside him snapped. The ground erupted. It was like a volcano, and with a deafening roar, the earth split wide open. A torrent of light and darkness surged together, a storm of energy swirling around them all. The force knocked Thomas off his feet, sending him sprawling. He looked up, heart racing. And what he saw left him breathless. Emma was no longer just glowing. She had become a figure of pure light, intertwining with the shadows. She wasn't just one of them. She was the key. His mind reeled. And then, from the depths of the chasm, a voice echoed, deep and resonant. "You thought you could hide her from me, Thomas," it snarled. "But she belongs to us now." Time stretched painfully, seconds turning into ice as Thomas's breath hitched. Fear mingled with disbelief, a storm brewing in his chest. "Who are you?" he shouted, fighting the rising tide of despair. "I am what you feared all along," the voice replied. "Her true father." Shock shattered through Thomas like glass. The implications hit him hard. Memories of Emma's mother flashed in his mind, secrets he had buried in grief. No, it couldn't be. "You're lying! She can't be!" But the flickering shadows began to twist, and in that heart-stopping moment, Emma turned, a knowing look piercing through the chaos. "Dad, I was never lost!" He staggered back, heart-shattering. Everything he thought he knew cracked apart, sending shards of reality slicing through the air. "No! Emma, please!" But she looked away, the warmth of their connection extinguished by a chilling truth. Thomas's entire world spun out of control as he grasped for understanding. Who was she really? As the darkness swirled, one haunting thought rang loud and clear. How deep did the deception run? Was he her father, or just an unwitting pawn? The question thrummed in his mind. The lines between love and betrayal had become terribly blurred. What would become of them all now? Emma stood in the shimmering light, transformed, yet the weight of uncertainty still hung over them like a thick fog. Her gaze flickered from Thomas to Grace, and in that moment, the air seemed charged with a fragility that could burst at any second. Thomas's heart pounded in his chest, the drumbeat of anxiety reverberating through his entire being. "Emma, please," he urged, desperation leaking into his voice. "We can get through this together." But her expression hardened, something ominous lurking in her eyes. "You don't understand, Dad. This is bigger than us," she whispered. "I can't go back to being the person you want me to be." The truth hung heavily between them, a chasm that threatened to swallow them whole. Suddenly, a scream pierced the night, a raw, heart-wrenching cry that shattered the tense standoff. Everyone froze. Thomas's blood ran cold as he recognized that voice. "Clara!" Panic surged through him. "Clara!" he shouted, fear gripping him. Before anyone could react, another figure staggered into view, bloodied and wild-eyed. It was Clara, her clothes torn, face pale as death, hands trembling. "They're coming!" she gasped, collapsing at Thomas's feet. "They found us!" Panic unleashed a torrent of urgency. The hooded figures stirred, shadows swirling like smoke. "Get her out of here!" Thomas demanded, rushing to Clara's side. But before he could reach her, the ground trembled violently underneath them. Trees swayed, and a deafening crack resonated in the air. Then it happened. A fissure opened beneath Emma, bright light spilling forth, sizzling and blinding. "Emma!" Thomas cried, scared he'd lose her again. Her features twisted in horror as she tried to stand her ground. The fiery energy swirled, pulling her closer. "Stand back!" Grace shouted, face twisted with madness, arms outstretched, trying to harness the chaos, Let it happen. No, you're going to hurt her, Thomas screamed, instinctively moving to protect Emma. But in that moment, something inside him snapped. The ground erupted. It was like a volcano, and with a deafening roar, the earth split wide open. A torrent of light and darkness surged together, a storm of energy swirling around them all. The force knocked Thomas off his feet, sending him sprawling. He looked up, heart racing, and what he saw left him breathless. Emma was no longer just glowing. She had become a figure of pure light, intertwining with the shadows. She wasn't just one of them, she was the key. His mind reeled, and then, from the depths of the chasm, a voice echoed, deep and resonant. "You thought you could hide her from me, Thomas," it snarled, "but she belongs to us now." Time stretched painfully, seconds turning into ice as Thomas's breath hitched. Fear mingled with disbelief, a storm brewing in his chest. "Who are you?" he shouted, fighting the rising tide of despair. "I am what you feared all along," the voice replied. Her true father. Shock shattered through Thomas like glass. The implications hit him, hard. Memories of Emma's mother flashed in his mind. Secrets he had buried in grief. No, it couldn't be. "You're lying! She can't be!" But the flickering shadows began to twist. And in that heart-stopping moment, Emma turned, a knowing look piercing through the chaos. "Dad, I was never lost!" He staggered back, heart shattering. Everything he thought he knew cracked apart, sending shards of reality slicing through the air. "No, Emma, please!" But she looked away, the warmth of their connection extinguished by a chilling truth. Thomas's entire world spun out of control as he grasped for understanding. Who was she really? Then, with a sudden rush of wind, the shadows surged forward, forming a swirling vortex that pulled at them all. The ground quaked beneath Thomas, sending him back to the edge of the chasm. Emma was caught in the pull, her arms outstretched, fighting against the tide. "Dad, you have to believe me!" she cried out. With a lurch, something extraordinary happened. Clara sprang to her feet, eyes wide with a new realization. "No, it wasn't you, Emma. It was always Grace," she shouted, pointing an accusatory finger at Grace, her voice a mix of horror and determination. Confusion rippled through Thomas. "What do you mean?" But before Clara could explain, an unseen force bulged outward, sending everyone staggering back. The shadows and light merged violently, and a blinding brightness erupted, consuming everything in a flash. When the light faded, Thomas felt a jerk in his chest. Distant voices echoed, but he couldn't see clearly yet. "What have you done?" he finally shouted, raising his fists. As the haze lifted, he looked around, heart pounding in panic. The once vibrant clearing was now a barren wasteland, and the air was heavy with the scent of ash. He scanned frantically for Emma. Then he saw something. Clara, gripping a pendant with Emma's face inside. She didn't just abandon you. She was protecting you from the truth. The weight of those words settled in his gut like lead. "What truth? Clara, please! What are you talking about?" But Clara's eyes darkened, and she whispered, "I'm so sorry, Thomas, but some truths are too dangerous to uncover." And in that moment, a realization dawned. If Emma was not just his daughter, what else had been hidden? What bond did Grace truly hold? The lingering questions hung in the air, thick with uncertainty. Who had really betrayed him? And at what cost would the truth come? Emma's fate was now intertwined with his, but the darkness lay thicker than before. Could love survive the darkest revelations? The air crackled with tension, the silence so thick it felt suffocating. Thomas's heart raced. His whole world tossed into chaos. Clara knelt beside him, her face pale but resolute. "We have to get to Emma," she urged, eyes darting toward the swirling shadows. He met her gaze, his mind racing with fear. "Clara, can you stand?" he asked. His voice steady, despite the quaking ground beneath them. She nodded, determination lighting her features. But just as they turned to run, a deafening roar erupted from the fissure, and the ground shook violently. It was as if the earth itself was tearing apart. Dust and debris filled the air, choking them. "Go!" Thomas screamed, pushing Clara forward. But as they took their first steps, a figure loomed out of the darkness, a massive shadow shifting towards them. Heart pounding, he squinted through the chaos and saw it was Grace, her eyes glowing with a malevolence that chilled him to the bone. "Stop!" she shrieked, her voice clawing through the noise. "You'll ruin everything!" In that moment, something astonishing happened. A blinding flash radiated from where Emma stood, illuminating the entire clearing. Shadows shrank away, and in that brilliant light, a truth unfolded. Thomas's breath caught in his throat. As he realized Emma was not just glowing, she was changing, becoming something altogether different. "You must choose, Emma!" Grace screamed, desperation twisting her features into something grotesque. "Choose what?" Emma's voice rang out, powerful and commanding, yet filled with an anguish that sliced through Thomas. "I don't want to be a part of this." Then, quite suddenly, a brilliant thread of energy shot through the ground, crackling like fire. It surged toward them, and in that instant, everything stopped. Time froze, and the air became thick and heavy. "Listen!" Clara yelled, grabbing Thomas's shirt, her eyes wide with fear. She has to find the truth or lose everything. The energy exploded outward, forcing Thomas to shield his eyes. Whatever force was unleashed twisted everything around them. He felt his heart pound, not just from fear, but from a sense of urgency that went beyond comprehension. As the light receded, Thomas saw something that shook him to his core. The crack in the earth had widened, and from its depths emerged a figure wrapped in shadows, the face obscured. But when the figure stepped forward, the world shuddered. "Hello, Thomas." The voice was smooth, chillingly familiar. "James," Thomas whispered, the name hitting him like a punch to the smirk was a twisted reflection of everything Thomas feared. Emma, caught in the chaos, looked back at Thomas, her face a mask of shock. "You knew?" she gasped, stumbling back, betrayal filling the space between them. "No!" Thomas shouted, anguish ripping through him. "Not like this! You don't understand!" But before he could explain, James laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "You took everything from me, from us." "Us?" Thomas shouted, disbelief flooding his voice. "What are you talking about?" Then it happened. The darkness surged forward, a wave of power crashing like an unforgiving tide. Emma gasped, her form flickering. "Dad, I don't know if I can hold it." And in that moment, as shadows and light intertwined, everything unraveled. The truth slammed into Thomas with a force so staggering it stole his breath. James wasn't just an enemy. He was woven into Emma's existence. Thomas stumbled back, as if struck. No, it can't be. The relationships he thought he understood distorted into something nightmarish. There was no straightforward path forward. The revelation twisted everything, ripping at the seams of reality. And with a final, blinding flash, darkness enveloped them all, leaving Thomas in suffocating silence, heart racing with one haunting thought. Who really was Emma? And what had this family become? Emma stood in the swirling light, transformed into something neither fully human nor completely ethereal. The shadows danced, flickering around her as if she were at the eye of a storm, and Thomas felt the ground beneath him tremble. "Emma, fight it!" he shouted, desperation clawing at his throat. The shadows surged again, and with it came a rush of darkness that swallowed everything. The air thickened, wrapping around Thomas like a heavy blanket. He coughed, straining to breathe, and the connection between him and Emma felt like fraying thread. Then he saw Clara trembling, her face a mix of horror and realization. "No, no, it can't be!" she gasped, eyes darting around as if she were trying to piece together a shattered puzzle. "Clara, what do you—" "No!" he yelled, their urgency overlapping. But the ground felt unstable, and a fear thick enough to choke persisted, gripping him like an iron hand. And then a sudden tremor ripped through the earth, splitting the ground open wider. Emma stumbled as the shadows leaped forward, threatening to consume her. "Don't!" Thomas shouted, reaching his hand out desperately. At that moment, everything shifted. A bright flash pierced the darkness, blinding Thomas. He shielded his eyes, heart racing. When the light faded, he found himself in a different place, one that looked like a warped memory. It was a small house, but not just any house. It was their old family home. The walls stood, fresh and bright, laughter echoing from the corners. He could hear the soft hum of a lullaby. His heart ached with nostalgia. Everything felt so warm, so alive. A stark contrast to the chaos moments before. But there was something off. He turned, expecting to see Emma at his side, but instead, there she stood, much younger, her hair in pigtails, cheeks flushed with joy. "Daddy!" she called, running toward him, arms wide open. "Emma!" His voice sputtered, heart racing. This wasn't right. This was before everything had gone wrong. "What are you doing here?" he asked, but confusion churned within him. In seeking comfort, he was only left with more questions. "Come, play with me," she giggled, but in her eyes, Thomas didn't see the carefree innocence. He saw shadows lurking. He took a step back, dread pooling in his stomach. "Where is your mother, Emma?" he asked suddenly, the urgency burning inside him. But before she could answer, the shadows began to twist around the edges of his vision, dark claws stretching towards them. He turned, panic climbing his throat. "Get away from her!" he shouted. But Emma's laughter turned into piercing shrieks, echoing, mixing with darkness. Then everything shattered. Streaks of light shattered the memories, and in that whirlwind, a figure emerged from the void. Thomas's breath hitched as he recognized them. It was himself, but twisted, an abomination cloaked in darkness, eyes glinting with malice. "Do you see now?" the doppelganger hissed, voice dripping with contempt. "You were never meant to be the hero. You were always the villain, in the story of your own daughter's life." "Stop!" Thomas shouted, falling to his knees as betrayal washed over him like icy water. "You don't know what you're saying!" "Oh, but I do," the dark figure laughed, a horrific sound that sent shivers down Thomas's spine. "Emma belongs to something greater, something you've held her back from. You've always just been a shadow in her story, and now it's time for her to escape your grasp." Panic surged through him. "No, this can't be happening," he cried. But the ground shook once again, the boundaries of reality blurring. Then Emma screamed, and her younger self dissolved into the shadows. "No!" Thomas shouted, voice splitting the air. He searched for her, desperation echoing in his chest as the darkness swallowed everything. And in that moment, he realized, was he ever truly her father? Or had he just fashioned an image built on illusions? Twisted laughter rang in his ears, leaving him with one urgent question as the shadows consumed him whole. How far had he strayed from the truth? And what did that mean for the daughter he thought he knew? The darkness pressed in, stifling, suffocating. Thomas felt the weight of the shadows wrap around him as the laughter of the figure echoed in his mind. He stumbled back, heart racing, eyes darting, searching for Emma. Everything felt like it was slipping away, like sand through his fingers. "Emma!" he shouted again, panic rising like a tidal wave within him. The ground trembled, and an eerie silence descended. Then, from deep within the chasm, a twisted figure appeared. Silhouetted against the glowing light, it loomed over them, cloaked in shadows and anger. "Your family is broken, Thomas," it hissed, voice slithering through the air, "and you will never piece it together." Before Thomas could respond, the figure surged forward, raising a hand that crackled with electric energy. Time seemed to slow as fear clawed at Thomas's chest. He braced himself, every instinct screaming to protect his daughter. "Get behind me!" he yelled, stepping forward. But the energy twisted around him, knocking him off his feet. He hit the ground hard, winded, staring up as a blinding light exploded from the figure. Everything went white. And then the light faded, leaving nothing but a deafening silence. Thomas groaned, struggling to sit up. The landscape had changed again. He was no longer where he had been. The familiar woods lay behind him, replaced by an unfamiliar, stark white room. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, their glow harsh and clinical. "Where?" he began, confused, glancing around. Then he saw her. Emma sat in a small chair, eyes wide, hands gripping the sides. But she wasn't alone. A woman stood beside her. Someone Thomas recognized, yet couldn't place. There was a familiarity that shocked him. It was the woman from his past, someone he thought he had lost forever. "Mom?" he gasped, heart racing. But it couldn't be. The woman looked exactly as he remembered, a ghost from another life. You're dead." "Not anymore," she replied, voice soft yet piercing, filled with a sorrow that seemed to reach across the gulf of time. "I've watched you both from afar. I've kept secrets, so many secrets." Thomas felt a lump form in his throat as confusion morphed into rage. "Why are you here? Why now?" Emma glanced between them, tears brimming in her eyes. "Dad, please, you need to listen." Everything crashed together. Pain, confusion, betrayal. The shadows of their past twisted and coiled around their present. "What is happening?" Thomas shouted, helplessness washing over him like a bucket of ice water. Suddenly, the room shuddered and a deafening crash echoed. The walls vibrated as a crack appeared, dark and menacing, spewing shadows into the sterile light. "Get away from her!" Thomas shouted, pushing himself toward Emma, but his mother stepped in front of him, holding up a hand. "No, it's time to face the truth. We're all connected in ways you can't understand. Emma needs to decide her path." "Her path?" Thomas yelled, fear and anger boiling over. "What have you done?" Then in an instant, the room shifted again. The walls dissolved to reveal a glowing map, routes radiating with colors and tangled lines, each one pulsating with life. It was alive like a breathing entity. "Choose wisely, Emma," her mother urged, voice trembling yet powerful. "The darkness won't wait forever." But before Emma could respond, the shadows from the fissure curled up, forming tendrils that snaked toward her, whispering secrets of the past. They beckoned her, seductive and sinister. "Emma!" Thomas reached out, fear clawing at his throat. "You have to fight them!" Tension thickened the air as she hesitated, caught between the light of her mother and the pull of the abyss. The room trembled with anticipation, and in that moment, everything hung in the balance. Then, in a shocking twist, Emma raised her hand, glowing with the same energy that had once surrounded her. "No, Dad, I'm done running. I choose my own path." The shadows froze, their hold breaking as her energy surged. Then, like a dam bursting, everything erupted. Light and darkness collided in a blinding explosion, and Thomas felt himself being pulled with them, heart racing wildly. One thought echoing in his mind. What had he truly unleashed in his daughter? As the light from Emma's hand pulsed brighter, darkness bled into the edges of the room, swirling like a storm. "Dad!" Emma cried, and Thomas knew this was their moment. He pushed himself to his feet, adrenaline rushing through him. He had to reach her. "Emma, listen to me!" Thomas shouted as he fought against the shadows reaching for her. "You can choose. You're not alone." The shadows hesitated, dark tendrils writhing. Emma's face was illuminated, determination etched into her features. "You're right, Dad. This ends now." With a fierce resolve, she pulled energy from the swirling chaos, transforming it into radiant streams of light. The shadows recoiled, hissing in fury. "Stop! You don't know what you're doing!" Grace yelled, panic lacing her voice. But it only fueled Emma's resolve. "Enough of this! I will not let you control me any longer!" Emma shouted, her voice echoing with newfound strength. The room trembled as the light blazed brighter, pushing against the darkness with a force that sent shivers through Thomas's body. He took a step closer. "That's it, Emma! Break free!" And with that, Emma channeled everything she had into a single pulse of brilliant energy. A wave of light surged forward, crashing into the shadows with a blinding brilliance. "No!" Grace cried, her form disintegrating like smoke in a strong breeze. The echoes of the shadows spiraled away, retreating into the void, and Thomas felt the oppressive weight lift from the room. As calm descended, Emma swayed, exhaustion washing over her. Thomas rushed to her side, catching her. "You did it! You did it, Emma!" he whispered, tears of relief blurring his vision. "I didn't do it alone," she said, glancing toward the fading light that was once her mother. It was complicated, a mix of love and pain. The shadows faded, leaving only silence. Thomas pulled Emma close, feeling warmth pulse between them. "We'll figure it out together," he promised, swallowing hard against a lump in his throat. As they turned to leave, the world shook once more. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and together they stumbled. "There's still a ripple," Emma warned, looking back. "It's okay," Thomas assured her. "We'll keep moving forward, one step at a time." And as they stepped through the door into the new dawn, possibility greeted them. A world reborn, offering a second chance. Not just for Emma, but for them both. But with that new beginning came a set of questions. What would they do now? What adventures awaited them beyond this day? The uncertainty loomed large, but they would face it together. As the sun rose, casting golden rays over the horizon, Thomas felt a stirring of hope. The past was still there, a ghost he couldn't fully escape, but healing began where acceptance found roots. With hearts intertwined, they took their first steps into a world that was theirs again, filled with shadows, with truth, and with love. For now, the darkness had lost its grip. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss upcoming exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Don't wait another second to share this video with @least 5 friends who need to know this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Only true fans understand the importance of these actions. If you like stories about farmers, about everyday life on the farm, and want to know what really happens in the daily lives of the biggest farmers in the world, the hidden stories of the richest owners, and the secrets of the farm girls that the media doesn't reveal, check out our virtual book with the most famous and secret stories from the farm. Click on the first link in the video comments and get yours now. You need to watch this now. Don't wait another second to share.